So I was just scrolling a moment ago on Instagram and I came across this thing that was going on not too far from my house over in MacArthur Park, and it just raised my ears a little bit. It already happened, but still, I figured I better say something about it. Check this out.
What if we reconnected MacArthur Park? On July 10th and 11th, we're going to be closing down Wilshire Boulevard behind me from Alvarado to Hoover, connecting MacArthur Park to Lafayette Park, making it one of the largest pedestrianized streets in the country.
Now listen very closely to the language that is being used here. Reconnect the park. Give the streets back to pedestrians. Connect. Community. All of that sounds positive, and that is exactly why projects like this deserve more examination and not less. Because major changes to the way people are allowed to move through a city are almost never presented as restrictions. They're always presented as improvements. They're presented as safety. They're presented as community. And maybe the woman speaking sincerely believes every word she says. I think she does. The politicians and public representatives are often used as a friendly face of policies that are much larger than any one person. So I'm not questioning whether she personally wants families to enjoy the park. I think she does. I'm questioning what happens after the celebration is over and a major transportation route has been removed.
Park to Park is going to be an event that's going to show us what it looks like to reconnect MacArthur Park, to give the streets back to pedestrians and back into our communities, and connecting neighborhoods in multimodal ways that didn't exist before.
There's that word again. Multimodal. Whenever government officials use language like that, slow down, ask what that means, and practice. It usually means they want fewer people driving, more people walking, more people bicycling, and more people using government-operated transportation. Now, giving people more choices is fine, but removing a street does not give drivers another choice. No. It removes one. Wilshire Boulevard is not some abandoned alley that nobody uses. I drive up and down that street almost every day. It's a major east-west transportation corridor through Los Angeles. Folks use it to travel to work, reach businesses, visit family, move through the city. So before we applaud officials for giving the streets back, we should ask, who gave them permission to take that transportation option away from everybody currently using it? And where will all those vehicles go? Because closing a street does not make the traffic disappear. It usually pushes it into another neighborhood.
Wilshire Boulevard has cut MacArthur Park in half. Before that, this park used to be one, serving the entire community of MacArthur Park.
This is the emotional foundation of the entire argument. The park was once connected. The road divided it. Therefore, removing the road must automatically be progress. But cities cannot simply be returned to the way they looked a century ago without considering how millions of people live and travel today. Los Angeles has changed. The population has changed. The transportation system has changed. The number of people commuting through this area has changed. You cannot remove a heavily used street simply because the park looked different before the road was constructed. Listen, the question is not whether additional green space would be nice. Of course it would. The question is this: whether that benefit outweighs the congestion, displacement of traffic, and loss of mobility that could follow. And we need the full answer before, not after, the street disappears.
That's why my team and I secured $2.5 million in grants to make sure that we could reconnect MacArthur Park, engage community to see what they want to see here instead of a 4-lane street, and make that a reality for them.
This part needs to be explained clearly. The $2.5 million does not mean Los Angeles has received $2.5 million to finish rebuilding MacArthur Park. According to the city, that money is funding community outreach, environmental review. That money is traffic analysis and early design work. In other words, much of this money is paying people to study, discuss, and plan the possibility of eventually closing the street. And the city says the project is still examining both full and partial closures. So before Los Angeles spends even more money, taxpayers deserve clear answers. What will permanent construction cost? How much will maintenance cost? What will happen to Wilshire traffic? What happens to nearby residential streets? What happens to the businesses that depend on customers driving through the area? And what happens when another carefully planned public space becomes neglected after the cameras and the politicians leave? Los Angeles is phenomenal. Very good. Fantastic at announcing visions. The city's record of maintaining the final project, that's a totally different story.
For over a century, Wilshire Boulevard has cut MacArthur Park in half. Before that, this park used to be one, serving the entire community of MacArthur Park. And in one of the densest neighborhoods west of the Mississippi, parkland is incredibly important. So Wilshire Boulevard cutting the park in two has taken thousands of families access to more green space, to a front yard and backyard that they don't have back at home. That's why my team and I secured $2.5 million in grants to make sure that we could reconnect MacArthur Park, engage community to see what they want to see here instead of a 4-lane street, and connecting neighborhoods in multimodal ways that didn't exist before.
This is where the conversation about so-called 15-minute cities becomes very, very relevant. To be accurate, a 15-minute city officially means designing neighborhoods where work, groceries, school, recreations, and other daily necessities are located within a short walk or bicycle ride. Now, on paper, that sounds fantastic. It's phenomenal. Who would oppose having stores, parks, and services close to home, right? But the concern begins when convenience becomes an excuse to reduce every other option. When roads start disappearing. When driving becomes increasingly expensive or difficult. When traffic is forced through approved corridors. When officials begin deciding which form of transportation citizens should use. That is how control is often introduced. It's not a big flamboyant thing. It's not by announcing that your freedom is being taken away. Of course not. It's by saying the government is making your life more convenient. Now, I'm not saying this single MacArthur Park project proves Los Angeles is constructing some kind of prison. No. I am saying we should recognize the direction of the policy. The more government controls the routes, the transportation, the design of your immediate environment, the more influence it has over where and how you move.
And during Park to Park, while Wilshire Boulevard is closed, we're going to be activating our intersections by doing soccer clinics here. We're going to have art. We're going to have performers, all activities for the family.
Oh, she sounds so fun and gleeful. I actually wish I would have gone. But here's the thing. This temporary event is very, very clever because it creates the most attractive possible version of a closed Wilshire Boulevard. Soccer clinics, art, music, family, a giant screen. For 2 days, everything will be cleaned. Everything will be organized and carefully managed. Then, photographs will be taken showing happy families enjoying a car-free street. Those photographs can later be used as evidence that the permanent project has overwhelming support.
In the country.
But a controlled 2-day festival does not show what closing a major road will look like every Monday morning during rush hour. It does not show the traffic on 6th Street. It does not show the traffic on 7th Street. It does not show delivery drivers, commuters, small businesses, or residents trying to reach their homes. A demonstration can show what a project looks like during a celebration, but it cannot show what the consequences will be during ordinary life.
Parkland is incredibly important. So Wilshire Boulevard cutting the park in two has taken thousands of families access to more green space, to a front yard and backyard that they don't have back at home.
And this is the part where reasonable people can agree. Families in dense neighborhoods, they deserve parks. Children deserve safe places to play. Residents deserve clean air, public spaces that are properly maintained. But those needs should not be used to silence every question about traffic, cost, and government control. Drivers are also members of the community. Workers passing through the neighborhood are also members of the community. Small business owners, members of the community. People who cannot walk long distances, members of the community. A real community discussion does not begin with a predetermined conclusion and then ask residents to help decorate it. It begins with every option remaining on the table, including keeping Wilshire Boulevard open. The city itself says no final concept has officially been selected and that planners are studying full and partial closures and the effect on traffic. So the public should make certain that that remains true.
And we're also going to be streaming the World Cup quarterfinals here on a big old screen in MacArthur Park. Join us for Park to Park, July 10th and 11th. See you there.
I hope everybody enjoyed the soccer, the music, the park. Actually, I wish I would have went. But do not let a 2-day party replace a serious public debate about permanently changing one of Los Angeles' most important streets. Maybe connecting MacArthur Park will ultimately improve the neighborhood. It just might. But Government officials should have to prove that. They have to prove that with transparent traffic data, a complete construction budget, a maintenance plan, and honest disclosure about where displaced vehicles will go. And we should stop allowing attractive words like community, equity, sustainability, and safety in the conversation. Those words should begin the questions, because this is bigger than one street. This is about who decides how you are allowed to move through your own city. And every time another road disappears, another restriction is added, or another transportation choice is removed, government gains a little more control while ordinary people are left with a little bit less. Like this video, share it, subscribe to Wolf Cage Los Angeles, and tell me in the comments, is this genuinely about creating more park space? Or is Los Angeles slowly creating a city where government decides how everybody is supposed to move? I'm Wolf Cage, out.